I'm Milky and welcome to my cottage. Today we're going to be visiting my harbour town, Port Peach. It's hard to succinctly describe this island, but expect lots of boats and fishing, canals, and a general lack of a consistent colour scheme. Sorry about that. But as always for my islands, all the houses are decorated, but this time the beaches were left untouched for reasons you will see very shortly. So on that note, let's go take a stroll around Port Peach. Hello and welcome to Port Peach. As you can see immediately, we've got our little bit scuffed flag that I made there, which definitely tells a bit of a story, which we'll get to as we get a little bit deeper into the island. Before we get any deeper, let's go ahead and look at our map. So it's a bit of an interesting looking map. After doing the sort of city areas, I realized that I'd forgotten to put in-game pathing down underneath all of my roads, which might have made this look a little bit more, cohesive. But at that point, I'd already completely decorated and everything, so I really didn't want to have to pick it all up just for a better looking map. So that's why it looks a little bit strange. But the island is split up into sort of 3 sections. So at the top here, we've got the up on a cliff. We've got our museum and things, and I'll obviously show you more what's back there near the end. In the middle, we've got our sort of canal-fronted town, and the main street there right in the middle. And then down here at the front, we've got the actual port part of Port Peach. So our residents are me, Milky, Bertha, Shep, Curt, Elmer, Flurry, Pashmina, Rolf, Whitney, Papi, and my absolute favorite fauna. So they mostly sort of stick to this sort of like coral and teal color scheme that I was originally going for. So the first thing you come across is this big port area, which is for the export of all the fish that they fish up in this area. So that's why we've got this truck here to pick it all up. And some more here just ready to get boxed up and sent away. There's a lot of these brustoids on the island, as stand-ins for pigeons because they're really, really cute, and they're also quite inintrusive to use as ways to block you from getting over there. Because that water is totally real. I don't want you falling in, right? So you shouldn't be able to get onto any of the water on this island. So the first thing you see down here is a house straight away. This is Elmer's house. He's sort of the port master, so to speak. So let's go on in and see what he's got going on. So here is Elmer, our harbour master, so to speak. So he's got this big fancy desk and chair where he sits and looks at all the shipping maps and whatnot. I'm now realizing it's upside down. I don't know, I think that adds to it. So over here he's sort of got his storage space and all the keys for all the different, storage sheds and whatnot. This is a little refreshment area. I'm not sure why the music isn't playing. I might have forgotten to turn it on. That's fine, we get to listen to the beautiful ocean waves. That's all good. A little refreshing iced tea moment. Lots of maps and globes and whatnot. And this is his sort of like work area. These are some of the fish that he needs to inspect before they can go and get exported out. And yeah, back there is the door leading to his actual bedroom, which is a very, very common theme on this island you'll see as we go through all the interiors. I think it just adds something without needing you to like compromise these sort of story ideas for the homes. But yeah, and he has a beautiful open view at the front here to the port. So yeah, thank you, Elmer. Sorry about the silence. So yeah, that's sort of your first introduction to the island, especially used if you are here to do any sort of business with the fishermen. And then here we've got a little market stall for the locals. And then trust me, there's a lot more of this coming up. So if you just go across these sort of docks, we've already got a hard-working fisher right there. And then you get to the local fish markets. So this is where anyone who lives on or near the island can bring all their goods to sell or trade. We've got quite a few of these sort of like landing areas for the boats. Got to measure them out, of course. And then if you come up here to the left, it's sort of a bit of a dead end, so it's safe to just come up here and have a look at Shep's house. So Shep is one of our local fishermen. So let's go in and see what he's got going on. So yeah, this is Shep's place. Gosh, I forgot it looks like this. He's sort of working out right now, so I'm sure he won't mind if we just hang out. So he's got his nice little fire here, a place to sit and have his dinner, read some books maybe. And his little bed back here with lots of information about fish and stuff, of course. And then here we've got his latest catch of the day and his trusty fishing rod, as well as a little work table and kitchenette. Yeah, pretty straightforward little house. I think it actually looks pretty fancy for a fishing dog, so yeah, I hope you like it, Shep. There's his best catch, of course. I'm not sure how to actually show that high up on the wall in hindsight. Oh, there we go. That blue marlin. Oh, what a catch. So that was Shep's house. Thank you for letting us visit. And then if you come back to the fish market, you can sort of complete the loop to get back to that main area. There's a lot of this sort of newspaper with the fish to wrap them up. Not sure if that's popular where you're from, but here that's what I always see, especially at fish and chip shops. And I wonder if that'll still continue going forward when newspapers perhaps aren't quite so plentiful. Anyway, here we make it to Kurt's house. So Kurt is one of the dock workers, so he's already got his stuff ready for him at 6 AM. So yeah, let's go and look at his house. Hi, Kurt. I love the high energy music immediately. So Kurt's place is full of boxes and whatnot. He's a very practical guy, but he does have his own hobby on the side here. So as you can see, Kurt likes to do pottery and to work with clay. So he's got his own little clay oven there. And this is some of his work. I like to think some of that pottery we saw being sold in the street earlier did come from Kurt. But yeah. And he made these little gyroids. I don't know how he like brings life to things, but that's between him and the clay. So he's got a little kitchenette area here. I mean, he doesn't have time to do the dishes, you know, he's a busy guy working on the dock. So he gets himself some fish and chips, sits and watches his little TV, and this is where he sleeps. Yeah, pretty simple guy with a little sensitive side, freaks at sensitive style sometimes. Yeah, obviously all the water damage on the wallpaper as well. Bit of a bummer. Oh, we're facing the wrong way, King. It's fine. Yeah. So I think that might have been the absolute last house I worked on, so that was quite a bit of fun. Now before we go up here to see the town, we'll come back to the right here. So unfortunately it's not early enough in the day to have all the lights on, but at the end of this video I'll post some sort of short clips of either very early morning or late night so you can sort of see what it looks like with all the lights on. But I wanted this sort of time of day to get that nice seafoam green kind of sky, which I think brings all the colors together really nicely. So if you come down here you can see there's like more docks for the boats to come. The pigeons gathering over the spilt cookies. And then over here we sort of have, this is definitely the like yacht the yacht boat sort of zone. So this is where the boats can come and refuel. And up here we've got the sort of repair area, where, you know, if you need any repairs or a fresh coat of paint, Rolf will do that for you. And in fact, yes, so Rolf runs not only the repair shop, but also this sort of fuel area. So let's go see what his interior looks like. So Rolf is also kind of a dock worker, but definitely focusing on the boats. So this is his little precious baby that he's been repairing for years, but you know, he rarely finds the time. He's just such a busy guy, but one day it'll be seaworthy, and then he wants to become a fisherman too. That's his beautiful dreams. And then over here we've got his little kitchen. Of course, big emphasis on fish. I mean, he is a cat in a way, so. His little work area. I love his song for him. Oh, it's nice. And then this is his bed. So pretty simple interior, mostly because I had to make room for this huge yacht item. And I still want him to be able to walk around. So obviously the villagers can't squeeze, like he can't go like this. So there had to be a lot of open space. But overall, I think it got the correct vibes across. And just like Curt, he's got that sort of water damaged wallpaper, but it still looks really good. Thank you, Rolf, for all your hard work. Thank you, Rolf. So I really wanted to make the outside of this house, by the way, this sort of pinky color, just because there wasn't much of that coral pink in this area. There's lots of blues. And it was quite disappointing while looking for items to use on this island. There was, yes, Harvey is still trapped here, by the way. I really wanted it to be like teals and corals, maybe some yellow, but the Animal Crossing color palette is quite limited, and a lot of nautical stuff is a lot more of a deep blue, so that's sort of why we ended up with this. But yeah, there's nowhere else to go from resident services. You sort of get a glimpse of the houses up there. But if you come over to the left, we've got this ramp to get up to the main street. So it's sort of just this big rectangle with some benches to sit at. But we'll come down and we'll check out the different streets. So this is our first canal side street with some intense music playing on the radio. So we've just got little apartments and then some docks again, as always, sort of trash area, and then someone selling some handmade pottery out front. And then if we continue up here, we get to Bertha's Cafe restaurant. So she's definitely got more going on the inside, but then out here is the outdoor sitting and eating area. It looks a little bit empty, mostly because these tables take up a kind of awkward amount of space with the chairs. But, you know, it's nice. I want my villagers to be able to actually walk around as well. If you come over here, you can still just get a glimpse of that lighthouse in the distance. Not really doing its job right now, but that's okay. Yeah, just a little eating, drinking, rest area. So then let's go on inside and see what Bertha's Cafe looks like. So here's Bertha's Cafe. Less seating indoors because obviously you're meant to take it outdoors, but I suppose it's perfect on a rainy day. So back here we've just got the front of house kitchen, and obviously where you can actually buy your food. Yeah, pretty simple and straightforward, I think. Little menus up there. And then this door back here leads to Bertha's actual apartment. I don't expect her to live in a kitchen, so that's where that goes in our beautiful imaginations. Ah, good to stop and have a cup of coffee or a cake. By the sea. Oh, it'd be so pretty. So coming back to this main street, we'll continue on this left side here and go down to another little street next to a canal. I like to think of this as like the fancy rich people street because they all have these little front patios in front of their townhouses. So this person obviously loves plants. This person's having some food. And this person just gets privacy, I guess. And then further up here we've got Flurry's place, who is our sort of flower shop owner. So she also exports and imports some plants, both to, you know, sell ones that she's grown, but also have some stocked up for the residents of Port Peach. So here we've got her sort of like outdoor plant shop selection. And then inside, there's a little bit more on display. Let's have a look. So here is Flurry's very pretty flower shop. The music is a little weird because it's the one that came with her default house. Sorry about that. So at the front we've got all of the flowers on display. Got a beautiful little balcony that you can go out and look at the ocean. And then back here is sort of her sales area. Very similar to Bertha's layout, I suppose, just different context. So this is where she will sell you the flowers and plants. And then yes, just like Bertha's, here's the door that actually leads to her apartment, you know, where she can sleep and rest and relax. But, you know, she's a beautiful little hamster. Oh, see, so beautiful. So she actually spends a lot of time here in the shop. Oh, she's so cute. The red sweater isn't really doing it for me, but other than that, very cute. Yeah, so definitely while you're here on Port Peach, buy yourself a lovely plant from Flurry. So that's where a lot of the plants you'll see on the island come from. Flurry's hard work. So then back up here on the main street, we're getting to the very back of the island already. When working on this island, I felt that the island's size is so small. I think a lot of it is because I had to sort of bring it in on the side so you couldn't see the beach at any point of time, which was my intent, to sort of give that illusion that the water keeps on going. But it felt like I got to the back here so quickly. Anyway, so we've got here like a fancy little fountain with our museum here. It's very barren. I would not bother going inside and exploring. You'll not find any fish or bugs in there. Sorry about that. And if you go to the left here, you'll get the park. So a little bench to sit at. We've got a lot of fancy stuff going on back there. Some more pigeons, of course, next to the bird bath. And then we have this sort of rock circle moment. This anchor in the middle is a monument for the first ship that landed on Port Peach. Of course, in my beautiful worlds, there was no one living here already. No colonization happening here. It was all good. So this is from the first ship that landed on this beautiful little island. And then over here we just have a little picnic moment, which the pigeons are trying to get in on. Fair enough too. And then the flowers sort of get more dense as we get here to Fauna's place, because Fauna is sort of like the groundskeeper for the park. So she grows a lot of the flowers that's in the park specifically. So yeah, let's go in and see what Fauna's house looks like. Hi Fauna. So this is Fauna's place. She's got a little red tracksuit on. That's nice. So she gets a beautiful view of her lovely park that she, you know, spends so much time keeping nice. And then over here we've just got a little plant workshop, so where she gets the sprouts going for new plants to have in the park. And then she's got a lovely little kitchen over here, kitchenette I suppose, with some fresh groceries that she's just got. And of course, oh my gosh, clearly, whoops, I don't think my town flag is meant to be there. I must have used the blank that I had to have a white stool. Oh, let's just not look at that. So the bookshelf is because I always have Fauna on my islands and I've always made her really big into reading, so obviously I had to have that on this island too. And then here, as indicated with the slippers, the door leads to her bedroom. So yeah, that's Fauna's place. And I'm hoping I didn't use that flag in too many other interiors that we look at. Thank you for that, Fauna. And you might notice that this island doesn't have too many trees, mostly because a lot of the water, but the ones that you do see, they're all peach trees. So obviously the name of the island, Port Peach. I think ironically my passport, yeah, my starting fruit was actually pears, but that's fine. Some beautiful butterflies. And then here on the other side of the museum, we get the start of Whitney's estate. So Whitney is a descendant of one of those first people that landed here on the island. So obviously they got like a lion's share or a wolf's share of the land. So this is sort of her estate, which is open to the public. So back here we've got a little sitting garden moment with some fancy statues. Or down here they can sort of come and look out over the town, which would be a lovely view, especially at this time of day. As the sun, I can see, is starting to rise, obviously. There's some nice little sunshine on the leaves. And then up here we've got Whitney's actual house. Let's go ahead and look at Whitney's place now. So this is Whitney's beautiful entrance room, you know. This is where she entertains guests. With her beautiful fireplace and places to sit. And then if you go back here, you can get to further into the estate. I imagine there's not just a bedroom back there, but many rooms and whatnot. She's a fancy wolf after all. She's got these nice paintings on the wall. This fancy pot. Statue back there and a beautiful deck overlooking all of the ocean. I don't understand how that then works with this side of the house, but it's fine. It looks good, so that's all that matters. So yeah, lots of tea and cakes and whatnot in Whitney's beautiful fancy estate. This ring, I just really wanted to include it. There is no story behind it. I'm just like that. Very fancy. And then as you come down to this sort of garden party, the fanciness only continues. So here we've got our little local band playing for us on that little platform. Here's another little gazebo to look out over the ocean. And here's the actual garden party with all the cakes and tea and stuff. And then this peach tree was the very first one that they found on this island. So this is the original peach tree. And that's the one that then they used to seed all the other trees that you've seen on the island. And that's also why the town flag was a peach tree. And hence the name, Port Peach. If you go further back here, you've got the sort of like lover's walk where there's just a little moment to sit on this beach and look out over the town in front of you. Yeah. I actually really like this area. But let's get back to the main street. So now if you go down here, we'll sort of get to... We'll keep going down the main street just to show you, but this area to the right is all sort of linked up actually, unlike the left side where it's two separate streets. This is sort of all one suburb, I suppose. So down these stairs, we've got lots of apartments here lining the street. Obviously someone's just moving into this house, leaving their stuff on the street. And then if you continue to the right, we've got a little outdoor cafe, which is right next to the water. I feel like this would be so nice to sit and have a cuppa. Sold by this lovely little gyroid, of course. So you just sort of sit here and look out over the water. And if you stand right here specifically, you get to hear the music of the garden party rather than the background music in Animal Crossing. We continue down, we'll get to Puffy's house on the right. So he's got his own private dock here where a lot of his food comes in. Puppy, I don't think he's as big of a fan of fish. There's a lot of people on this island, so he gets a lot of fresh vegetables and stuff delivered to his place. It looks like he's awake now, so I guess let's go in and say hello to Puppy. Well, fortunately for me, that is actually a workbench that I placed down intentionally, so I can still show you this place. So this is Papi's house. I've sort of decided he's like a graphic designer for, you know, magazines, billboards, that sort of thing. So yeah, he sort of just has a little self-contained apartment. This is where he sits and gets some inspiration, maybe. This is his actual workbench. I suppose it'd make more sense for him to be there with a pencil and paper rather than a hammer, but that's okay. And then he's got his little kitchen back there. And this is where he can sort of sit here with his cup of coffee and do some research as well. And then if you go up these stairs, quote unquote stairs, lead to this door, which is actually then obviously goes up to his bedroom and bathroom. So yeah. Now this layout, remember it a little bit because you're about to see something very similar shortly. So we can continue over to the left here. We've then got my house, obviously, but before we look at that, let's come across to Pashmina's place. So similar to Papi, although she doesn't get a private dock, sorry, but she's got a little balcony up there with her washing and whatnot. And Pashmina really loves plants, basically. Maybe not flowers as much as Flurry, but she loves plants. So let's go on in and say hello to Pashmina. Yes, so here's Pashmina's place. It is similar to Papi's, but it's just flipped. So she has an actual couch, not like a side table with a cushion on it, where she can watch TV and relax. And then just like Papi, she has these stairs going upstairs to her bedroom. Her little kitchen as well. And a little workbench just for her to design at, I guess. I don't know, it's hard when you're trying to incorporate the workbench in the stove sometimes. And then over here is just a place for her to chill. I like to think she also has a bit of a green thumb, you know, she tries her hand at her hoof. They have hooves? Yes, her hoof at, you know, growing plants. So yeah, that's why there's a lot of greenery in her house. And playing KK Disco because my girl has taste. Thanks, Pashmina. Right, and so then if you continued on back here, you would end up just at resident services again. So that's the loop of the island. So let's quickly go back to my place and have a look what I've done in there. So here's the exterior. It's a bit much, but it was good to be able to actually incorporate all those colors in with sidings I wouldn't usually use. And the swallopoid absolutely going to town just because they're my favorite gyroids, so why not? So let's go in and have a look. No one please trash talk my pet cockroaches. They're just fun little guys, and they keep the villagers away if they try to visit, so I like to keep my cockroaches if I can now. So yes, here in the main entrance, we've got, I guess, yeah, just my actual house. So there's a little pet bowl here and a cat tower showing that I've got a little cat, as I always do. And just little cushions to sit on the ground and read some books. Back here leads to, I don't know, a bathroom, I guess. No, I think the bathroom's downstairs. Maybe a storage area? I'm not sure. I didn't really want to design all these rooms, which is why they're all blocked off. And something you'll see regularly with Animal Crossing content creators, you know, like eventually you just get tired of making the same interiors. And over here we've got a sort of like window side area to sit and read. Lots of little butterflies and stuff. And over here I've got my little couch set up to watch TV, have some iced tea. Yeah, I had fun working on this layout. Oh, I'm trying not to step on them so bad. Alright, I guess next well, we already mentioned the bathroom, so let's go downstairs. So this is my bathroom and laundry. Judging by the size of this, I'm guessing I also do the laundry and sort of like sewing repairs for all of the residents of the island. Let's pretend that's a skill set that I actually have. And then if you come into here, this is the bathroom. We got the little litter box, my real fancy sink, a bath shower combo, I believe. Yep, bath shower combo, absolute necessity. And a toilet, of course, but with a little privacy plant. And then back in here in the laundry room, you know, we just got lots of shelves and whatnot. Some laundry out, yep. And somewhere to sit and work on your sewing. I really enjoyed designing this bathroom. Oh, that was risky. Yeah, I don't know, I had a lot of fun with it. And then walking upstairs, we've got my more like condensed apartment area. here. So to the left here is my bed, obviously, and the little cat bed for my little kitty cat. You know, got the clothes, the mirror, everything you need. And here's the cat. I am so glad they've got this item now. I've always had my houses just have the cat tree and the cat bed for like, there's a cat somewhere. But now there they are. They're sitting next to me while I play on my computer, doing some art with a beautiful view and balcony out over the ocean. Obviously, technically they'll probably be looking at Papi's house, but it's fine. And then back here is my kitchen and dining table. Nice and condensed. Who needs a fridge, I guess. Yeah. So that's pretty much my house. Which means we've also seen mostly all of the island. So let's step back outside. Oh my gosh, it ran under my feet. That's just so risky. So I hope you enjoyed this tour of Port Peach. I do love that now the sun has risen right at the end here, so you can see everything more in the daylight. I was quite conflicted on what time of year to have this island. I kind of wanted the minty trees and stuff, but it was hard to work with, so we ended up with this sort of green, light green. I think it looks alright. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour of Port Peach. Of course, you are more than welcome to come and visit yourself. I would love to have people come in, have a look, see what you think, notice little details that I might not have mentioned on this tour. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed just this little tour. I will have a few shots now at the end of just, you know, nighttime scenery, just to sort of show how it looks at different times during the day with all the lights on. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a lovely time wherever you are, and that you be safe, be healthy, and just remember that you're very, very loved. Bye!